Because whatever I want to write, I want to study. I want to research a particular genre, so I'm ready to write in that genre, right? Which feeds right into the writing process, which is chapter 3, and it's what we're discussing today. But before I do that, I have 3 logistical or otherwise issues to bring up. First of all, I take out my textbook, and I see, and I want to draw attention to the exercise that's due on Friday in the labs, right? What exercise is that? It's AP Exercise 2. What is it? Page 253? Thank you. You rock. Page 253 in the book, and it's also the next couple pages. 254. 255, 256, and 257. This is a pretty tough one, okay? And the deal is, if it wasn't made clear in the lab, let me allow you to be perfectly clear what your responsibilities are. This is not always consistent with the Associated Press style book, right? And there even might be some grammatical or spelling mistakes here, right? So what is your job? What is your responsibility when it comes to this assignment? Yeah, and write what is correct. Write correct AP, grammar, spelling for each of those phrases. Do you understand? When in doubt, take the style book out, right? Joe? That's right. Just because it may be date and time might be incorrect AP does not mean that there might not be other mistakes. Excellent point. I very much appreciate that. And if Joe has that issue, other people have that issue. So thank you, Joe, for bringing that up. There may be multiple mistakes, spelling grammatically, but especially AP in each of these sentences. You need to correct them, bring this to class, and then we're going to work with each other to try to ascertain what the best Associated Press style is. When in doubt, raise your hand. When in doubt, check the AP book out. And I want you to learn that for this class and all other future classes where Associated Press style is used, and in your career. Otherwise, your coworkers are going to laugh at you because you don't know Associated Press. And I only say that because it's true from experience. Are we clear about that? Yes? The second thing that I want to draw attention to is assignment 1 is coming up, is it not? We're getting near it. And what page is that on? 241 is assignment 1. This is big. This is like a 10th of your grade. What you're going to do is you're going to write an inverted pyramid story. Okay, look at me for a second. You have 2 options. The first one is write an Associated Press news story in inverted pyramid. And if you're going to do that, what you need to do is pick one of these scenarios that follow the example. 1 is there's a school shooting. 2 is the Cubs were in the World Series. Adele might be coming to ISU, or one of you win an Academy Award for a film you've written. You need to use those facts, put them in inverted pyramid order, and then write them as would be grammatically correct and consistent with the Associated Press, which the facts are neither. Does that make sense to you? But you're going to talk about in your class on Friday, you're going to go intensely over this assignment so it's abundantly clear to you. Then there's also examples of inverted pyramid stories that are based on different sets of facts. Now for this also assignment, you also have another option. How many people are PR people, public relations? For you guys, you write an inverted pyramid press release, and you have more latitude, okay? It can be about your favorite band that you're a publicist for, an actor that made a mistake but you have more latitude to make up whatever public relations event or issue you would like to write about. But that will be made clear when you deal with this on Friday in lab. Everybody understand? Okay, great. The third thing I want to say is, look, nobody respects your opinion more than I do. I really believe that. I seek to learn from you people. And somebody sent me an email that thought that I may have been disrespectful to the serious illness, like a brain tumor, of depression. okay? And I want to say that depression exists and needs to be treated. You guys sense I'm a high-keyed guy. Any of you guys get that sense? Well, along with the high key comes lows, okay? So I'm going to say that I may very well suffer from bouts of excitement and then bouts of depression, and there's a place for medication, off the record for those issues. My issue, however, when we talked about the culture of consumerism, is they do try to exploit your psychological weaknesses to make you feel less good about yourself unless you get products. And in particular, mean world syndrome, there's much research out there that shows if you watch a lot of TV, you think the world might be more dangerous and hostile than it actually is. And then in addition, I'm really quoting Dr. Wayne Dyer when he suggests that when half of Americans are medicated for stress, which according to Dyer isn't even really a condition, it's really something we make up in our minds, that we might be over-medicating. Okay? But do not let me... Look, my aunt was schizophrenic. She needed her medication, okay? Because she couldn't tell the difference between dream and reality. I may feel bouts of depression too, and there might be medication that helps balance the chemical process in my brain. So let me not create stigma about depression. Recognize that there is a place for properly medicating that. But pharmaceutical companies, are they worried about our health? They want to make money. I may own some stocks in pharmaceutical companies. I don't even know it. I don't write them a letter that says, please only suggest prescriptions to people who really need it. I just want to know that I have a retirement account. Because it's kind of blind. I don't know what I owe or what I own in my retirement account. So the idea here is we just have to be careful about the difference between needing something and wanting something. And that includes, I read a quote from Abraham Lincoln, most people are about as happy as they decide they should be. And then also, I read somewhere else that happy people know they're going to be down sometimes. That doesn't mean necessarily that I may have, or that we may have, or certain people may have, depression that needs to be treated by chemically balancing with, augmenting it with prescriptions. Am I clear about that? I want to be the most sensitive guy I can be. And I do also want to say, your opinion matters to me. Your questions matter to me. If Joe's got a question, you got a question. If you have a comment and you direct it to me, I want to address it because I really respect your guys' opinion. All right? That being said, any questions related to any of that? We've talked then about theory of communication and writing. What I'd like to do is go to the writing process. Is there a way to bring these lights down? Let's go. Will you zoom in on this? Those stages right there. Pull back. I just want them to see all 6 of them. Is that possible? Yeah. I want you guys to recognize that there's this writing process in chapter 3. All right. That deals with concept formulation, first of all. Secondly, planning. Third, listing. 4th, drafting. 5, sharing. And 6, polishing. Okay? Along those lines, what I'd like for you to write down is revise, rewrite, and repeat. Revise, rewrite, and repeat. Somebody, Grace, where's Grace? Grace sent me an email that said the AP guide was wrong about the headquarters of Future Farmers of America. Is that correct?
Future Farmers of America.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's
National FFA.
National FFA, which is...
It was Future Farmers of America.
Okay, what does FFA stand for now?
Just FFA.
It just stands for FFA. Okay, well, when I was in it, that's what it stood for, okay? But she noted in the AP style book that the national headquarters is wrong. What? Somebody who wrote the AP guide needs to revise, rewrite, and repeat. Do you guys get that? Is it crazy? What am I saying? What am I trying to allude to? Raise your hand. Yes, ma'am. Not everybody can be a perfect writer. As a matter of fact, nobody is a perfect writer. I mean, this is the AP style book. I so much appreciated that comment from you because it becomes an indicative example of everybody needs to revise, rewrite, and repeat. Do you guys understand that? If the person that's putting together the AP style book does, you and I need to. Yes, sir.
It's not even good to like be consider yourself like tough. I mean, it's probably good to consider yourself like a writer because then you won't exactly like try to aim any higher.
That's right. I am never going to be the best writer. Yesterday I spent some time in routines of writers, and I'm talking Vonnegut, Hemingway, E.B. White, who wrote Strunk and White's style book, and they all talked about how they all had to continue to challenge themselves to become a better writer. So what does that mean I need to do with everything I write? Revise, rewrite, and repeat. So that's overall what I want to talk about today. Look, you guys have got the book. Do I expect that you read the book? Yes, I do it. As a matter of fact, I demand that you read the material before class. I'm not going to get into all the minutiae that the textbook does, because why? That would be redundant, because you have read the chapter. And we could have a quiz. I got a quiz ready on chapter 3. How many would like to take it? Somebody would, because you read it, right? We can bring it up right now. Do I expect that you read the material before class? I demand it, okay? So likewise, there are going to be things I kind of gloss over in this lecture because you have read it. Do you understand that? All right. Well, let's go ahead and go to the beginning and look at this chapter. We are talking about chapter 3, the writing process. And actually, now we're on 2013 or 2012. Because that was a previous edition, which we've made changes. The first thing we need to do is prepare to write. Okay, we're getting ready to write. What are we going to write about? That's a decision you have to make. That's part of the preparation process. All right? So I'm preparing to write. I'm brainstorming. Which of these 4 stories interest me? I'm looking at the assignment that's going to be due in a couple weeks, right? Which of these 4? Adele coming to ISU, the Cubs winning the World Series, or if you're doing PR, for you PR people, I'd like for you to imagine your dream job in 10 years. And what would you be writing if you could write anything you want? What would it be about? Who's PR? What would you most like to be reading about? It's Annalita, isn't it? Yeah, you don't know? Dare to Dream. Dare to Dream, guys. 10-year plan. What would you most like to be doing in 10 years? Steinbeck says the successful people have a 10-year dream, then look at all the steps they're going to work towards it, and then focus on the immediate step they can achieve today, and they kind of put the long-term goal out of their mind, okay? Think about what you want to be doing in 10 years. What would you like to be doing? Okay, well then write something about Kanye. You know, I read a quote the other day about, who was it that introduced him? Somebody introduced him. They said, this man has been called a genius. He's been called God's gift to music. He's been called the greatest thing since Elvis. And that was all just stuff he wrote about himself. Anyways. But Kanye, and I loved it when he came on after Hurricane Katrina. Anybody remember that? You know, he was with the guy, what's that? Yeah, Mike Myers. Kanye was like, George Bush don't care about black people. Like, go Kanye, you know?
Like, George Bush doesn't care about black people.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I just was like, yeah, man, preach, my friend, you know? Like, I mean, I'm not saying that George Bush didn't.
So we made, like, you know,
Michael Myers is like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? How do I say this? Anyways, I dig Kanye, okay? I dig his music, and I also dig, if you have an opinion, express it. It might be right, it might be wrong, but I really appreciate it when Kanye. I was watching that live, I was just like, yeah. I mean, if this was a country club in Bel Air, California, those people would have had water, okay? You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, I hate to be. God bless George W. Bush and his dad and the whole family and John. Jeb. He could be. Anyways, I digress. Write for Kanye. Pretend like he put out a new album and you make it up for him. Or he's going to be in a movie. And write a press release about that. Figure out, if you people in PR, what you'd most like to write in 10 years and then write that. Okay? So, but that is all in preparing to write. It's thinking about what we're going to write. Go ahead, Kenneth. Preparing. Now, I do want to identify that writing is a collaborative process. If you're going to write ads, who are you going to be answerable to? If you write an ad, who are you going to be answering to? Go ahead. Yeah, man, you're going to, Bubba has got a car wash, and he wants to buy some advertising on your station. You're going to have to answer to Bubba, aren't you? Right? Now, when you're a writer for Bubba's local ad for his car wash, who else do you have to collaborate with? I mean, are you going to go out and shoot the commercial? Probably. Hey, look, write one thing. Write one thing and then talk with me. Okay? So we just wrote down what? Preparing. Writing is a collaborative process. What does that mean? Don't write all the stuff down. I'm asking you, please look at me. Don't write all this stuff down. Let's talk about collaborative. Who are you collaborating with?
Collaborating with all the camera people, you're collaborating with makeup people, you're collaborating with costume people, with the person you're recording.
That's right. And oftentimes, one of the only reasons I talk about television advertising is you can still get jobs coming out with video production experience in creative services. Creative services are the people that actually go shoot Bubba's spot. And students that come out of this class and then get the degree, that's a place they can go. They start making promos, which is like WEEK joins with ISU basketball for shoots for tots or something. But there are jobs in them, they're hills. What you need to do as a writer is realize you've got to collaborate with the rest of the production team. So you're the intermediary between the advertiser and what she wants and then the production crew, and you need to be clear to them. You got another comment, Summer?
HOI has their own, I think it's called their
Right.
that does all the advertising, so they work within, like, they own all of that, but they still have to compete with their advertising. Like,
Right, because what you got is you got people out there that are actually selling the airtime, pitching ideas to the advertiser, then the production company has to actually make it happen. So you see how it's a collaborative effort? You guys get that? I mean, I'm bottom line here is, man, I got to be at New York University. I'm on the Village. I'm there. I'm directing this 15-minute little film for New York University, you know, production classes. And I'm looking and I'm dealing with 8 people. And I got to communicate effectively to every one of them, and they're communicating to me, and then the product is greater than the sum of its parts. Wow. This is better than I envisioned it because they bring something, they're artists that bring something to the ball game, if you will, right? It's a collaborative effort. Nobody does it all by themselves. So you as a writer are collaborating with other people. You have to have that in mind as you prepare. All right? That's why, what is the most important consideration when writing for mass media? Somebody raise your hand and win the $1 million that Chris is going to pay you. What? What's the most important thing? Very good. Clarity, because you got to be clear to the people you're collaborating with. The advertiser, the team you're working with, and the audience. So get your check from Chris. It might not be good for 10 or 15 years when he wins the Academy Award, but hit him up then. All right. There's also pressure. What kind of pressure is there? You want to write down pressure now. Yes. Bridget says to be the best. Is that what you said? You want quality. You want to give Bubba the best ad he can get for his money, don't you? She also said well, go ahead, sir. Get it done on time. This is the deal. If Bubba's showing up and he wants to see a rough cut or a draft of your ad in a week and you don't show up on time with the done, what's Bubba going to do? Anybody? What? He'll go through the roof right to another company, potentially. You understand? He wants to work with people that work on time. You know how many people I've seen The Departed? I'm the guy that does this job. You must be the other guy, right? Remember that? Who was that? Marky Mark's big brother? Oh, it was Marky Mark. Oh, I thought it was his dad, or his big brother. Yeah, was it not Donnie? I'm sorry, okay, Marky Mark. And the Funky Bunch. Anyways, you're the guy you're the person that does your job. You show up on time. There's pressure for time. There's pressure for quality. All those pressures are there. Summer?
You have to be able to reach the right audience and put the profit.
That's right, man. You got to reach the ma'am. That's right, ma'am. You got to be able to reach the right audience and turn a profit. Bubba wants to see more people come through his car wash, or Walt does. Right? I got to check the Coke machine. There was a problem with it. How many people know what I'm talking about? No, it's not. I'm going to stop right there. Anyways, yeah, they want to see increased sales, don't they? And so there's pressure to do that. So what I got to do is have a concept formulation, okay? I got to come up with an idea. I've always thought for Bubba's Car Wash, what you do is take a truck out and just destroy it like off-road. Well, actually, you buy a brand new truck and you show it coming out of Bubba's place. Then you take it out for a week and you just four-wheel the living daylights out of it. You know what I mean? You're like driving through rivers and smashing into trees. And then you show that pulling into Bubba's Car Wash. And then you edit them backwards. You see? Right? So this destroyed truck drives in, and then how many people saw, which one of the, oh God, what's the prank show? Come on. Where they rented the car. What? Jackass. Remember they rented the car, they got full coverage on it? One time I did that in Las Vegas. We got that car up to 130 miles an hour, me and Brian Say. But they got this car and they rented full coverage, and then they just crashed it into walls. And they returned it, and the guy was like, you want to return this? Like, yep, here it is. We got full coverage on it. Yeah, see you later. Anyways, so you show that car going into Bubba's Car Wash, then you edit it so that you should have the brand new car coming out of Bubba's Car Wash.
It's not like a collision revision commercial.
Yeah, but it's a joke. The audience is going to get a satire. But anyways, I'm just shooting from the hip here for Bubba's Car Wash, okay? But you get my point. What is my idea? What am I coming up with, okay? Now, I do want to, this is on the test. Here's where you make a big note. Angle or point of view is not the same as editorial position. Really, this is going to be on the test. So write this down and put a mark by it. Angle or point of view is not the same as editorial position. Okay? And the bottom line here is, let's say I'm going to tell a story about, let's say a freak snowstorm comes through tonight. Yeah, okay. But I can tell that from a lot of different angles or points of view. Whose point of view can I tell that story from? Yes. Yeah, school superintendents, man. All of a sudden, we're not ready for this, right? A snowstorm. Who other position or angle? What's that? People that are driving, definitely. Commuters that got to go to work. All of a sudden, there's a snowstorm. Who else's angle? The student, your perspective. All of those are angles or points of view, but they're not editorial opinion. I mean, you can look at it from a straight meteorological perspective, right? Here's where the cold front coming. This is why it snowed. Look at it from the guy at Walmart that sells snow shovels and salt, right? That's not taking his point of view, or his angle isn't the same as editorial opinion, is it? Do you guys understand this? This is on the first test. Is that clear to you? You're going to see it. Number 32, point of view or angle is the same as editorial opinion. True or false? All right, good. So I'm making it very clear what's expected, that you know those are different. And then we're ultimately going to do a treatment. And this is more relevant when we get to our bigger projects, okay? But treatment, just put down elements of dramatic model. Write that down, right? Treatment, and then put elements of dramatic model. When you're trying to decide about a film or a play or whatever, you write a treatment. And what a treatment does is cover these elements of your story. Does that make sense? And we'll go into We'll go into excruciating detail about that later. But that's part of the process. When I'm going to write a film, I write a treatment, where I write a narrative that could be 3 to 10, 15, 20 pages that tells the whole story of my film. Do you understand? So I'm making decisions as I'm preparing. All right. There's all this preparation involved. And you guys, are we good here? We're preparing. Go to the next, because there's more that I have to do when I prepare. And really, go ahead. That's got to do with researching. I need to research my idea. Right? Let me say this about researching. Whatever you write, you need to know more than what you're going to include in your final product. You need to know more about the new product your company is releasing than you're actually going to put in your spot or in your story. You can write this down. Writing is about making choices. Writing is making choices. Anybody seen The Wonder Boys? It's got Tobey Maguire again, award-winning kisser. Michael Douglas. He's a writing professor in it. He says, writing is about making choices. Did you write that down? No? That's what it is, making choices. Include and what to not include. If you don't know more than you're going to include, then you're not making any choices. You're just putting everything in there. Does that make sense? So when you research, your goal is to know more than what you're actually going to include in your story. Or, yeah, for sure, especially on this first assignment. You may not include all the facts that are in the 4 scenarios if you decide to write straight news. You may not include every thought you have if you write a press release. But you need to make choices about what's important to include and what's not important to include. And actually, let me write this down, and at least we can start. Let me say inverted pyramid. Write down inverted pyramid, straight news story. Straight news story organized. Yes, ma'am. Most important facts to least important. That's why it's called inverted pyramid. Right? The first paragraph has the most important things. The second has, and it goes down in order of importance. All right? Now, there's 2 reasons for that. One is there's 2 reasons for that. One is, as a reader, I can stop reading and I get the most important. Because in the beginning, what I'm going to have is the news elements. All right? Where is it? News elements. What are news elements? Anybody? Somebody tell me, what's in my first paragraph in inverted pyramid story? It's also yes, ma'am. Who, what, when, where, and why. These are the news elements. The 5 W's and maybe an H. All right? Who, what, where, when, and why, and maybe how. Okay? That's in this first paragraph, which is called the lead, which is the first sentence or paragraph. All right? And in particular, when you do inverted pyramid, this is called a summary lead. I don't know. Summary lead, or what's another name for it? Anybody? Somebody yell it. Comprehensive lead. Very good. Comprehensive lead. Okay? It's almost like we give the climax first. All right? Climax first when we use inverted pyramid story. All right? If writing is about making choices, I have to decide what's most important and least important. Is that correct? You guys understand that? Writing is about what? Making choices. Now, in order for me to pick and choose what's most important and least important, I have to know more than I am actually going to include in my story. Do you understand that? Thus, I need to research. McKee suggested there are 3 different modes to research. Writing is about making choices, and it's also about information gathering. My man McKee, didn't we see a video of him giving a lecture the second day of class about the things of life? If somebody's watching their mom being beaten to death right now, their man making a decision to betray his best friend for a woman. If you don't know that stuff, you don't know anything about life. Remember him? He says there's 3 ways that we can do research. One is fact. We can look at the facts, right? How many people are killed every day? How many kids in America last year watched their mother being beaten to death in front of a church? McKee says it happens. Fact. So I can read the newspaper. I could go online. I could get facts. Can't I? Okay. The second thing that we can research is through memory. All right? Look, what is it to be homeless? How many people saw Pursuit of Happiness? Pretty good. It's a good film, right? I love the scene where he's in the subway with his kid and they have to sleep in the bathroom, right? Yeah. I mean, do you guys know what it's like to be homeless? Okay, well, you may or may not have been homeless. And one time, I can throw this out. I've never been according to Hoyle homeless, but maybe I have. I taught at Princeton. I got rid of my apartment because I was buying a duplex where I rent 1/2 out. And I went to Princeton and they paid all my expenses. I got to live there for the summer. And then I came back for 2 weeks. I didn't have a place to live, really, because I didn't want to have to pay for the apartment the whole time. And I didn't close on my duplex building for another 2 weeks. So it was me and the Prius. I spent a lot of time doing research in my office. You know what I mean? I've never lived in my office. Don't tell anybody that I have. But I spent a lot of late nights doing research in my office. Because, you know, there's like internet and Netflix and... You know, it's kind of embarrassing when in the morning after doing research, you're stumbling down to the bathroom to brush your teeth there in Fell Hall, you know, because you did research all night. You know what I mean? Okay. I've not been homeless, but, man, I mean, I felt like I was close. Do you know what I mean? So then what I could do is use my memory of how it felt to have to sneak down. I was also a member at at Gold's Gym, so I took showers there. And it felt a little funky, you know what I mean? Actually, too, my kids, you know, my visitation with my kids. Where do you live, Daddy? Hey, let's go hang out at my office. We'll play Frisbee on the quad. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what it means to be according to Hoyle homeless, but I got a hint about it. You know what I mean? I remember one time I couldn't find my cell phone. And man, when you're living in your Prius and you've got an office and you lose your cell phone, man, you are just about homeless. Right? The bank can't call me to say when I'm going to close. I mean, oh my gosh, I freaked out. And I thought I left it on the car and I drove all over town because I was freaking out. I was homeless, man. If you ain't got no phone, you know what I mean? You're just about homeless. And Maggie, she was like 8, and she was like, I think you left it on your desk in your office. No, I didn't. We're driving all over town. I'm looking for where it slid off my car. I'm going nuts, walking down the street, you know, and Maggie was like, I think you left it on your desk. No, Maggie, I didn't. It's somewhere around here, and I'm driving around town. Then about an hour and a half later, me freaking out, feeling totally homeless, Pursuit of Happiness. We go to my office out of desperation, and then my phone's on the desk. You know what I learned that day? Always listen to Maggie. Well, the woman's always right, said Eve. Anyways, memory. No, everybody's always right, okay? Women are always right, according to Summer. Put quotes around. Summer says women are always right. All right. But I can kind of go back to memory, and I know what that hour and a half felt like when I didn't have my cell phone, and I felt homeless, okay? And whenever I write a scene where somebody's homeless, I can relate to that by going through my memory. And then it borders on imagination, doesn't it?
That one that the guy had to stay at the airport for like months.
Yeah. The guy had to stay at the airport for months. It starred Tom Hanks, The Terminal. Right, well, which is kind of what Snowden, who blew the cover on the NSA recently, he had to live in the Russian airport, or the Moscow airport for like 3 weeks. But the terminal, yeah. And maybe, I don't know, I've never lived in a terminal, but what if I did have to live in a terminal? Because I wasn't a citizen of anywhere. That's where I start to imagine, what would it be like to be Sandra Bullock and be stuck on a space station, or the shuttle spinning out of control? Go ahead, what?
He got kicked out of his hotel because they thought he was homeless.
Oh, really? They kicked him out of the hotel because they thought he was homeless. All right. Duck Dynasty, man. 19 million people watched the opening episode of that show on the 17th of August. I can't either. Here, do you guys get my point? Is that I can research by imagination. What if? What would it be like? And that's the third part that McKee says is part of this research process, okay? Go ahead to the next thing, sir. So it's about making choices. Now, I could do online research, right? Online research. Man, it's amazing what I can get. Online research. I can get a speech 10 minutes that the president's going to deliver in the Rose Garden 10 minutes before it comes. He actually gives a speech. Because what they do at the press office of the White House is they post the text of the speech as soon as they can on the White House website. Okay? So go to online research. What can I get online? Go ahead, go. What can I get online? I can get government documents. That's a great thing that I can get online. Google Scholar. I mean, Google's useful. If I want to know the top 10 movies about stand-up comics, where do I go? It's amazing what we can get on Google. Okay? We can get a lot of good stuff on Google. I mean, it's a miracle. Maggie asked me, you guys must have been so smart before Google because you knew it all. Yeah, Maggie, we were. But now I can, if I want, I love it. If I want lyrics and chords to any song, I can go on Google. You want to find out about anything, you can go to Google, all right? So I can research there. Periodicals, New York Times app, Huffington Post app, NPR app. I got them all on my phone right here. They're at my fingertips, right? And those, I guess that's web. And I could go, it's a Google phone, so I could do a Google search by just saying whatever, Ricky Bobby talking about Doritos, and it'll come up, Organizational websites. Look, if you're going to do a new product for Revlon, I don't know, some new chemical that stops nose hair from growing or something, go to Revlon and get a little bit of information. Now, don't misappropriate. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Make sure you don't steal ideas from Revlon, but you might want information about the group. You might want to check out what Kanye's got going on right now on his website and stuff, and look at his other previous press releases. You better not be on Conway's website right now, but you get my point. Personal websites. These are potentially okay. I mean, my university has a list of all the a lot of my publications, what I'm about. It can be valuable. Social media can be valuable. Yeah, we were listening to Michael Franti at the beginning of class, and I'm finding out Maggie actually talked to him last week. She got to be on stage at the Lincoln Park Zoo in Chicago with him dancing, and last week she posted to him, but it was Instagram, and he was like, that's awesome. And then she said, they have a band, Maggie plays and sings, and she said, we want to open for you. And so that's our dream. But it was cool that Maggie had the guts to do that. But she's communicating. We're finding out where Michael Franti's playing. I know that he played Monday night in Indianapolis. I almost went, and I found that out from his social media page, right? Social media is valuable. Okay, notice there's a lot of things I can do on the web, but there's also pitfalls of web research. Go ahead. Now, I do want to say this. Rule of third. Go back. Yeah, stay there. The word misappropriation. Write the word misappropriation down. misappropriation. Does that sound right? Misappropriation. What, according to the book, is misappropriation? Misappropriation. Look at me. Don't write anything down. Misappropriation. What is the definition of it according to the text? Yes, sir. Close but no cigar, but thank you for playing. What is misappropriation? Anybody? All right, well, here, I'll give you the deal. Yes? No. It's over-relying upon any one given source of information, right? Is that what you were going to say? You're giving too much value to one source, but really it's over-relying on one source of information. This is on the test, so write it down. Misappropriation is relying too much on one piece of information. All right, look. And this is a real example, okay? I'm working on a book on John Paul. Actually, I got my 49th rejection yesterday. Isn't that great? I mean, I've published 9 books now, but this one book it's called Saintly Sex, St. John Paul, Gender, Sex in the Catholic Church. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's too controversial? But I don't want to get into it. I do want to say this, that it used to be part of a bigger book, and it was about how sometimes the Catholic Church hasn't been too nice to the children of Israel, okay? So I was researching John Paul II, and I found out that he was on a Jewish soccer team when he was in school. Well, and actually, I later found out that the first girl that he had a crush on was Jewish. So John Paul wasn't anti-Jewish, okay? I mean, sometimes the Catholic churches run into that, but John Paul, I don't think was a guy that was like that, okay? The point was, the first time I saw that he played soccer on a Jewish soccer team, what did I need to do? Raise your hand. Yes. Cite the source, exactly. And I think it was Anatoly in 81. It's, John Paul played soccer on a Jewish soccer team in school. So I cite it. You see that? Now, then I stumbled upon it again. Bernstein, Carl Bernstein, Woodward and Bernstein fame, wrote a book about John Paul, and he there said John Paul played soccer for a Jewish soccer team in school. So the second time I ran upon it, what did I do then? Raise your hand if you got a suspicion. Yes. Yeah, I put it down another one. So I had 2 sources listed right after I said that. I had Anatoly and I had Bernstein. Okay? Okay, well, this is the second one, so I put it there. Then, later on, I read in a third source that John Paul, he's going to be made a saint in December. That's why the book should sell. But anyways, I digress. Yeah, they've approved some third miracle. I don't know, some woman in Mexico, gallbladder problem went away because of John Paul, she says. So he's going to be a saint. But anyways, the point is, the third time I found a source that said he played for a Jewish soccer team. What did I do then? I got rid of all those citations, because you know what? At that point, I'm an expert on John Paul. I know it. I have read so many times that he played soccer on a Jewish soccer team, I don't have to cite anybody. How many times do you have to read the Declaration of Independence was signed in 1776 till you don't have to cite it? That's my suggestion. That's the rule of thirds. At that point, I'm not misappropriating. If I'm going to lean on Anatoly to tell me that, I'm going to cite him, right? If I find Bernstein saying, I'm going to cite him. But the third time, I'm not relying too much on any of those guys, because at that point, I'm an expert. Does that make sense? So misappropriation on the exam. The question is, what is misappropriation on the exam? What is it? What is it? Yes, sir.
Giving too much credit.
Relying too much on any one source. The word relying is probably important. Relying on too much on one source. All right? But that third, and this is my suggestion. I don't even know that I've ever read this anywhere, but at that third time I read it, I know it. I'm an expert. I'm sorry to say, I'll go out on a limb and say, then I don't have to cite anybody because I know it. All right? The rule of thirds and misappropriation. That's all about research. There's pitfalls of online research, are there not? One is, how do you know that there's not a slant, a definite editorial opinion to a given web page? How do you know that the person that put up the web page and wrote whatever it is graduated from high school? You know. And now the way it is that there's so much pressure to post stuff, even by legitimate news organizations, quicker than their competition, then mistakes are made, okay? You might be looking at old information. There could be questionable facts. That's why it's always good to go to other sources. I'm going to stop here, and we're going to pick up. No, don't put anything away, because I want to tell you an anecdote. Don't put anything away, please, okay? This is an anecdote, but it has a lot of value. Anybody know who Vanilla Ice is? Vanilla Ice. I didn't copy because I didn't go bum 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 ba dum bum. I went bum 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 bum. So it's not under pressure. Anyways, Vanilla Ice, right? Ice Baby, is that? Somebody did a paper on, or a piece on him in this class. And his last name, his actual name is Van Winkle. Is it Matthew Van Winkle? Does anybody know? Okay, and they spelled it. This student spelled it V-A-N without a space, lowercase, W-I-N-L-K-E or whatever, okay? And it looked kind of weird to me. Van Winkle. And how many points off is it if you misspell somebody's name? 16, because you want your name spelled correctly. So notice, it's very clear. If you're going to put Hasselhoff, make sure you correctly spell it, okay? So I wanted to double check Van Winkle. So what did I do to double check his name? I Googled it. He was from Dallas, and they had his name spelled V-A-N, capital V-A-L, space, capital W-I-N-K-L-E, right? Okay. Then I saw in the Miami Herald, where he lives now, they spelled it capital V-I-N, space, capital W-I-N-K-L-E. So I approached the student, I said, you know, you misspelled this name, it's 16 points off. He said, no, I saw it on the internet, that's how you spell it. So I was like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, I checked it and on the internet. So I went to the internet, and the fourth Van Winkle hit was a page posted by an 8th grade skateboarder where he misspelled Van Winkle like that. And this student found that and was like, oh, well, I spelled it right. Did he check the source, the legitimacy of the source? Do you see what's wrong potentially with online research? You have to double check things several times. I mean, even when it comes to AP, I'll put Associated Press and then put the issue like whatever it is. It might be a baseball phrase. And I'll put Associated Press Google, and then I'll look at all the Associated Press stories that use that term to find out what's generally acceptable. All right? So we're talking about the stages of writing. We're talking about preparing. But I want to end class with the most important thing. Associated Press guidebook was wrong about the international headquarters of FFA. All right? What did they need to do? Write this down. They needed to revise, rewrite, and repeat. Because no one is the best writer they will ever be. No writing is perfect. We'll continue to talk about that on Monday.